A popular YouTuber is apologizing today after his decision to publish a video showing the hanging body of an individual who committed suicide. Logan Paul is that YouTuber, and apparently during a recent trip to Japan, he went to a forest that's known for suicides and hangings and ended up filming a man's body as it was hanging from a tree. Now, throughout the video, he is laughing, making jokes. During the moment that he saw that body, he became a little more serious, but then later on continued joking around. The video was uploaded Sunday under the title, "We Found a Dead Body in a Japanese Suicide Forest," and it garnered more than 6 million views in less than a day. Now, his videos usually get, his personal vlogs, which he does on a daily basis, usually get around 6 million views. Now, when Paul and his buddies stumble on the body, this is an area near Mount Fuji that has become notorious for suicide. His reaction is initially one of disbelief. He was quoted as saying, "Yo, are you alive? Are you effing with us?" Later on, he talks about how suicide is not a joke. Suicide is not a joke. Depression and mental illness are not a joke. We came here with an intent to focus on the haunted aspect of the forest. This obviously just became very real, and obviously a lot of people are going through a lot of shit in their lives, okay? And he also included a link for suicide prevention in the description of the video. But people took issue with it because A, he filmed that dead body, B, the headline or the title to his video really capitalized on that. And C, throughout the video, I mean, he's wearing this goofy hat, he's making light of things. It was just incredibly insensitive, especially when you consider that suicide is one of the top reasons for death in Japan. I'll give you the numbers to that in just a minute.
So look, full context here. Every day he does a 15-minute video. It's edited, so that cuts both in favor of him and against him. So in this case, he had done a video about all the quirky, different cultural things that he saw in Japan, or quirky, at least according to him. So in the rest of the video, not related to the forest, he's laughing and joking. In the middle, he's got the forest thing, which is appalling, and he blurred out the face, but he did say that serious stuff. You know, let's give it both sides here, but when his cameraman basically is concerned about standing next to the body, he jokes, "You never stand to next to a dead guy before," and laughs. Okay, yeah. And so obviously people are concerned that that is not taking it seriously. Look, what he should have done is, I guess, broken his normal pattern of doing 15-minute vlogs, or do a 15-minute vlog on Japan, leave this out, and then do a more serious one about this. I think him putting it up is not necessarily wrong. Showing the full body, even with the blurred face, that's problematic. Laughing in any portion of the video is obviously an issue. So, but what he says is, look, for 460 days straight, I've been doing this kind of video. And so I understand that, because a lot of people don't understand. Like, for example, we do a 2-hour show, and sometimes people only watch one clip and they'll think that's the only clip we've ever done. I'm like, no, we cover that issue 100 times. Go back and watch our videos on it on the channel. So I hear that. But he also said, as one of his excuses, like, it just happened at the spur of the moment, and what could we do?
You didn't have to publish it in this jokey 15-minute long video. Yeah. Let me give you his exact apology. Really quickly.
Okay.
So he says, people were alleging or accusing him of doing this for the views. He says that's not the case. I didn't do it for the views. I get views. I did it because I thought I could make a positive ripple on the internet, not cause a monsoon of negativity. That's never the intention. I intended to raise awareness for suicide and suicide prevention. So suicide is a serious issue. I do not think he went into it with the intention of raising awareness about suicide.
No way.
Yeah, that's BS. Suicide remains a top cause of death for people between the ages of 15 and 39 in Japan, so it is a serious problem. And yeah, it was really, really, really bad judgment, and hopefully like a humbling moment for him, so he can maybe think twice before posting that kind of sensitive material. And look, I'm not surprised that people reacted the way that they did. I mean, suicide is a big problem in the United States too. I'm sure that there are tons of his fans who had family members who took their own lives. So this is a sensitive topic, and including it in the middle of this jokey, quirky video is not the way to go.
Yeah, so the last couple of things here. Look, he edits the video, it's not a live blog. So he could have done it any way he wanted. He chose to put it in the middle. They had plenty of time to think about it and decided to present it in that way. So it was definitely wrong in that sense. And him saying he's not doing it for the views, both true and untrue. So some of the articles are painting it like, oh my God, it got 6 million views and that's why he did it. No, as Anna pointed out, almost all of his videos get 6 million views. It's just that mainstream news has never heard of YouTube. So they're like, 6 million views, that's the largest thing we've ever heard. No, he gets it every freaking time, right? On the other hand, is he doing it to get views in general? Of course he is. He went to the suicide forest because he thought it'd be a cool thing. I'm sure he didn't expect to run into a dead body, and then he made the wrong judgment calls on that, and it came out looking ugly. Last thing though is, he's 22. Did I do stupid things when I was 22? Yes, right? So, I think that there's bounds of reason. Okay, like I think he gets it that it was wrong.
I think that this is honestly, and I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt in saying this. I think this is a symptom of like internet culture. And what I mean by internet culture is we've become so desensitized to things. Like people will do outrageous, terrible things on a regular basis for attention and they become instant celebrities. Like bad behavior gets rewarded. And sometimes, you go a little too far and people bite back. And I think that's what happened here. Look, young YouTubers especially, not all of them, but a lot of them do crazy things, whether it's stunts or pranks, whatever it is, to make a name for themselves. And it's worked. It's worked handsomely in the past. So I think this is just a symptom of a culture that's been around for a little while now.
So last thing on this is, guys, it's actually a combination of things. Yes, on the internet, people get a ton of attention, and he got a ton of attention here for this, and oftentimes people get rewarded for bad behavior. But a lot of that is because of the mainstream news. Now, the mainstream news very rarely reported about him or his brother, Jake Paul, who are both incredibly popular online and with millennials. Some of his music videos get 35 million views, but you guys never reported on that. So instead, the one time he does something wrong, you, in a sense, reward him with a lot of media coverage just to be able to say, you see this kid on the internet, he's such a bad guy, right? But what you don't realize is when you do that, whether it's for him or not, he's already popular, but it incentivizes other people to go, what can I do that's so bad that'll get the media attention? Because when you're doing good things, no one in the mainstream media will cover you. So
that's the case for any profession though.
I don't think so. Are you kidding me? If the TV guys get slightly better ratings, everyone will be like, what a star, right? He's larger than anyone in cable news by a landslide. And yet the only time anyone ever covered him was when he did something wrong.
Yeah.
If you want to get the whole Young Turks show every single day, become a member, tytnetwork.com/join. And once you do, you'll be saying,
I'm like a smart person.
Or you might say,
I think it's weird.
Or you might say,
oops.
No, that won't be that one. It won't be that one. It'll be great, trust me. tytnetwork.com/join.